talk about our subject tonight, which is Goal Setting 101. Um, it's something that I've had to work at probably my entire adult life, because I was one of those people that just wanted to do everything, be involved in everything. And for some of you who have known me a long time, I am involved in a lot of things, but I didn't learn how to say no. I always felt bad when I said no to people. And there were times I put some of my own goals on hold just so that I could assist other folks with theirs. And there were other times that life happened. Being a husband, a father, full-time employee, that many times there were not only distractions, but there were other priorities that took place. And so there were times that I wasn't able to fulfill the goals that I had set for myself. I had to learn how to pace myself. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight is Goal Setting 101, how to break down those larger dreams, aspirations, goals, and get to some clear objectives, get to some clear tasks, being able to break them down into manageable components, but also getting others involved that will hold you accountable, that will check on you from time to time and say, hey, John, how's that book project going? And you'll be able to answer them. And so you're going to share that responsibility, if you will, and accountability. So I want to get started. I want to thank you all so much for coming in. Good evening. I see some of the text messages, but I'm going to make sure that I stay focused tonight. The next series after this in goal setting is actually going to be conquering your goals, conquering your goals. But I didn't want to do too much during the holidays. And so I wanted to do this early, and then the next piece will be in January. And then I want to talk to you about a program that I'm launching. It's called Empowerment Mentoring, because I continue to get requests from folks to say, hey, I'd like a little additional help. I'd like some more information. And so we put together an online piece. All of us have learned from COVID how to do some of this blended learning. We want to put that piece together and allow you to do that. Goal Setting 101 is one-on-one. It is making sure that you're very clear and that you clarify your vision. There are lots of times that we want to be involved in projects. We have our own aspirations, if you will. We have our own track in our careers. We want to be sure that we clarify our vision. So I wanted to welcome you to the class. I'm deeply passionate about this stuff. I get excited when people call and when I get the chance to talk to them and they share what their aspirations are. And there are many times I've been very fortunate because they're in the same industry as myself, or involved in some of the same organizations that I'm involved in. I'm able to share not only what my successes were, but more importantly, I'm able to share what my failures were, things that I had to learn, those pain points, those growing points, so that they wouldn't have to make the same mistakes that I made. And so that's why it's always important for you to share. So I want to welcome you to the class and webinar. I'm incredibly motivated to help you get to where you want to be. I have been blessed and fortunate, and I continue to be blessed. I continue to be blessed and fortunate because what I'm doing right now in my life, I wanted to do since I was 4 years old. And so for me to get to where I am right now, it took a few detours, a few bumps in the road. But to get to where I am right now, where I'm in a position to help other people, it is just the icing on the cake. So I want to talk about the importance of setting goals. A goal is defined as the result or achievement toward which an effort is directed. In other words, it's the end destination. It's not the milestone. It's not the mile marker. It's an accomplishment and or an end piece. And when I started looking at goal setting, I started thinking about what some of my mentors told me about visualization, about seeing yourself in the position, seeing yourself doing what you believe that was the piece that you wanted to do, and then working your way back to where you were. Start with the end in mind and work back. And that became so clear for me that I was looking at things the wrong way. I was looking at where would I start? How would I start? Who would help? How much would it cost? I was with a group of young people last weekend, phenomenal group of young people between the ages of 13 and 17. And I did a lecture with them and a talk about putting your dreams to the test. And when I got to share some of the things, hear them share some of the things they wanted to do, I got so excited because they are very good at compartmentalizing things. So we think that they're all over the place multitasking, and multitasking doesn't work. They absolutely can do it. And so when I started to look at how they put things together and putting their dreams to the test, the two questions I got away with, got from them and pushed them for was prioritization, figuring out exactly what they wanted to do and what it would cost. Not the monetary cost, but what would it cost? So making sure that they were focused and making sure that they knew that it would cost them something, maybe time away from their friends, maybe time away from something they wanted to do, maybe moving them out of their comfort zone. But to get to that goal, to get to that end, we got a chance to share some great information. I wish we had recorded it because we've got some incredibly smart young people. Setting goals provides a sharper focus for us. So remember, I talked about clarifying your goal, but it provides a sharper focus. It also allows you to measure your progress. You get to have a starting point, a middle point, and an end point, but you notice the incremental steps and the incremental achievements or changes, or even the distractions that you may have. And part of setting your goal allows you to block distractions. When you clarify your goal, you're able to focus on it more and eliminate distractions. Now we'll talk about willpower later on to help you with eliminating and avoiding distractions, because we live in an information age. We are being bombarded all the time with information. So the importance of setting goals is to make sure that we clarify our vision, we set our focus, and when we do that, we minimize the number of distractions that we have. And it allows us to provide productive boundaries, learning how to say no. Believe it or not, there are folks that don't know how to say no. And so we want to be able to teach you how to do that. Setting goals also combats procrastination, which we all have in our lives to a certain degree. Some people become procrastination bound. In other words, they get caught in the quagmire of competing irrelevances and can't move forward. And so setting your goals allows you to eliminate that and reduce the amount of procrastination, but it motivates you. When you get clarity on what you want to do, it can be motivating. And so how does that work? Okay, well, stay with me. When you set a goal for yourself, you inherently have an end game in mind. Remember, we talked about having the end game in mind. And it shifts your behavior and your thoughts, not only on a conscious level, but a subconscious level. With this, you begin to take certain steps to get you where you want to be, doing what you want to do, and getting you what you want. And you gradually pick up momentum. How many times have you wanted to start a project or begin a project and you didn't think about the end, but you took 2 or 3 steps towards it? Maybe you did a meeting, maybe you read a book, maybe you did some research, maybe you jotted it, just jot the item down in your journal and review it. Me, I've got Post-it notes all over. I write so many things down and I stick them on the wall. I stick them on the refrigerator to remind me of my focus. And those Post-it notes end up in my journal, which I review 15 minutes in the morning when I get up after my prayers and 15 minutes before I go to bed at night to see where I was. Did I make any progress? And so what happens is you pick up a little bit of momentum. And as you progress and get closer to accomplishing your goal, your brain releases dopamine. It's a chemical that gives us a sense of reward and pleasure. And so when you take small incremental changes or small incremental steps towards your goal, you literally reward your brain. You reward your system as you get things accomplished. And it becomes addictive, believe it or not. You can change the chemistry in your brain. When you set a goal, you're going to have to develop a plan and abide by that plan in order for you to get to what you want. It doesn't mean that it's a hard plan that can't be modified, because our situations and environments change. but you must start with some type of structure. And as you work your plan, you'll notice gradual progress along the way. Measuring your gradual progress allows you to see how far you've come, where you started, and how far you are away from your goal, the end result, the end game. This can be incredibly motivating if you tell your mind and you tell yourself. I know folks that say, well, I don't talk to myself. I haven't met one person that doesn't talk to themselves. And I always say, if you don't talk to yourself, let me take you outside and close your hand in the car door. I assure you, you will not only talk to yourself, you will talk to me, and you'll talk to anyone who will listen. Now, that's the pain factor. But how many times have you tried something that you thought was difficult and you succeeded? And you rewarded yourself by not only throwing your hands up, but even saying to yourself, I did it. I accomplished it. Well, if we're starting at the end with the end in mind, why don't we say to ourselves sometimes, I can do it. I see myself with an increased income. I see myself in the new position. I see myself in the new house. I see myself in that new relationship. Because I can tell you, my friends, visualization and positive affirmations work. I've been fortunate to work with some very successful people. I've read books on people from 100 years ago, 500 years ago, and they still talk about positive affirmations. That if you don't see yourself succeeding, then who else will? You have to believe yourself. So the ability to measure your progress is a skill. It's actually a practice. It's something that you can do, that you can even teach yourself, and it will serve you well the rest of your life, in every aspect of your life. What we want to do when we set goals too is we need to block distractions. So the ability to block distractions not only helps you achieve your goals sooner, but also helps one develop self-discipline, which is not only great for getting to our goal, but it is a critical life skill. When you have an end game in mind and you're determined to finish and get to the finish line, it becomes increasingly easier to avoid distractions because you are focused on your goal. You are working your plan. And for those of you who struggle with blocking distractions on your quest to your goal of achievement, I'm going to give you a couple of helpful tips. Oops, sorry about that. I'm getting excited when it comes to goals. All right. The most important thing is to focus on 2 or 3 things that are most important about your goal. Don't try to take in everything at once. In other words, once you set your mind and focus on the end game and what it looks like, and you start to back up to where you are, look at the small incremental steps that you need, the resources, the training, the money, the people that are going to be around you, your mentors. There are so many different components that go to our goal setting that we can start to focus on them 2 or 3 at a time. If you find that overwhelming, then start focusing on 1 thing at a time. Master that and move towards your goal. Focus on completing the work in segments. Instead of attempting to try and tackle the entire thing, set aside time. Learn where your power drive times are. For me, believe it or not, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. That's my drive time. For some reason, I wake up almost 3 o'clock every morning, and I have since I've been an adult. Dr. Wayne Dyer, a great motivational person, wrote several books. One of them was Excuses Be Gone. And in the book, he said that there were certain people that maybe 3:45 in the morning, they get up every morning. He said, start keeping a journal, a pad by the side of your bed. Instead of waking up and turning the TV on, or waking up and checking your phone or checking social media, wake up and put your feet flat on the side of the bed and just say, I'm listening. These are my thoughts. Think about it. How many times have you had a dream, a thought, an idea in the middle of the night? It could be just before you go to sleep. It could be during the middle of your sleep or when you wake up. And by the time you take your shower and wash up and get dressed in the morning, you forgot what you were dreaming about. You forgot that idea. We've all been there, all of us. And so what I've ended up doing is I end up writing things down on these pieces of paper that are all over my room. They're on the side of the nightstand, they're on the refrigerator, they're on the mirror in the bathroom, because I want to make sure that I don't lose those thoughts, those ideas, or those aspirations. Many times that is the difference between your subconscious and your conscious mind communicating with each other. Sometimes it's pieces of a conversation, it's pieces of a TV show that you saw, or maybe a book that you read, or a presentation that you saw. And you have those thoughts and you begin to link them in from the intangible to the tangible, from just a mere thought to physical energy and action. I am a firm believer in it. And you can not only teach your mind how to do it, but when you set goals, when you focus on your objectives, you move yourself from point A to the end exponentially. All right, I'll get off the soapbox. Back to the dreams. Some people have a fear of boundaries, and they feel as though boundaries will prevent them from accomplishing their goals. But in reality, boundaries do exactly the opposite. When you know that you are focused on your goal and on your tasks, it becomes clear that your energy and your focus become pinpointed. So when you provide boundaries, it could be something like setting aside just the time of day, the resources, a room where you live or stay, time before you get in the car, or even time while you're in the car, excuse me. While you're in the car, if you have a specific drive time from one destination to another, that may be the time that no one is there, and you decide that you're not going to text, you're not going to make phone calls, but that may be the time for you to communicate to yourself. Because when you see it, when you say it, you move closer to teaching your mind how to focus on your goals. It works. I was in an organization one time and they talked about how do you teach the very young and those who have not been in school for a while. And they called it the MARS concept, the MARS concept. The MARS concept stands for motivation, association, repetition, and the use of senses. Motivation, you don't have a piece of paper and a pen? Too bad. Motivation, association, repetition, and the use of senses, S for senses. And what they basically said is when you utilize this to either communicate an idea, a concept, a thought, or even to focus on things that you want to learn, do, or grow with, when you motivate, associate, repeat, and utilize as many senses, writing it down, saying it, hearing it, touching it, the mind grasps it a whole lot better. So when we do that, we can actually block distractions, which makes it great for us. Another way to combat, to get to our goal, is to combat procrastination. And like I said, we all have it to a degree. Some of us have gotten a lot better with it, but procrastination is a plight that many people struggle with in all aspects of their life. Thankfully, setting goals effectively combats this common ailment. In other words, you need to start now. Pick a point, pick a time, pick a place, pick a project, and start now. Setting goals and striving towards achieving them innately increases our willpower, believe it or not. Mighty willpower, combined with a desired end game in mind, makes staying the course and not wasting time a whole lot easier. In other words, the best remedies for procrastination are motivation combined with willpower. You have to want to do it. You have to have discipline. You have to have time and set aside time. So when I talked about the MARS concept, motivation, association, repetition, and the use of senses, when we talk about motivation, setting goals is innately exciting and motivational as you give it something to strive. You give yourself something to strive for. You want to strive for it and you want to achieve. The drive, the energy, the passion, All of that comes into the setting of you creating your end goal, where you want to be, where you see yourself. And when you begin to achieve your goals, you start to get a sense of strength, confidence, competence. And when you do that, it transcends everything that you do, you say, and where you go. People will see a change in you. You'll see a change in yourself when you take these small steps. Being motivated also means taking action and not giving up, not quitting, getting out of your comfort zone. When you think about it, your comfort zone is a very bad place to be. Now I'm going to get on the soapbox real quick. Think about it. How many times in the 80s, some of you in 80s, 90s, I'm going to look at my audience. How many times have you gone on these company retreats and organizational places where they ask you to place your trust in the hands of someone else? And, they had you fall back and someone would hopefully catch you. Or you'd go on a hike or a nature walk. You'd sit by a campfire and share. I've gone on those things where they actually had the zip line and you got on the zip line. And I won't say who, but some folks have gotten out of their comfort zone. A comfort zone is a bad place to be. When you're in your comfort zone, you have technically said, I'm going to accept average. I'm going to get comfortable where I am. I'm not going to stick my neck out. I'm not going to prioritize my life. I'm going to go with the flow, and I'm going to do what everyone else does, because 4 out of 5 people stay in the comfort zone. When I've talked to some highly successful people, both in my industry and outside of my industry, they always talk about how horrible the comfort zone is. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't come home tired. You have other priorities. You try to get rest when you can. But the difference between highly successful people, moderately successful people, and people who are not successful is the decision to begin and act and get out of their comfort zone, working towards their goals after they've set them while they're tired, they're distracted and getting focused, while they don't have all of the resources, but they don't quit. They continue to put the pieces together. So if it's not resources, it's time. If it's not time, it's planning. But what they do is they set their goals and they make the decision. They utilize willpower and discipline to move forward. And once we start to do that, the world is your oyster, as some folks have told me. So goal setting inherently will motivate you and compel you to get to the finish line. Got excited. Apologize for that. Now, when setting a goal feels challenging, you have 2 options. Option 1 is to put in the work and achieve your goal. Option 2 is don't put in the work and not achieve your goal. Each option comes with consequences. But sadly, most people, because of the comfort zone, procrastination, and not being able to block distractions, they opt for option 2 because it's comfortable. We decide we'll do it later. We start to talk ourselves out of some things too, as well. But the fact is that if you stick with option 1, put in the work and decide to work towards the goal, your own body systems will reward you. Your emotions will change. Your brain chemistry will change. And the more you focus on moving towards your goal, the less you have to do towards getting it, because you've moved off the X, you've moved from the beginning. And there are reasons why people fall short in achieving their goals. According to Lifehack, which is one of the sources that I use, and I'm going to give you the sources at the end, the most common reasons people often fall short when working towards their goals are these. They're not specific enough. They say, I want to make more money next year. I want to go on a big vacation. I want to change my relationship. I want to change my job. We talk about something called SMART goals or SMART objectives. And I want you to think of those letters, SMART. SMART objectives are specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and time framed. In other words, you don't say, I want to make a lot of money. That's not really a good goal. It's a good idea, but it's not a good goal. If you say, I want to make $50,000 by the end of next week or by the end of the year, that's a whole lot more specific. Because when you do that, now you can back up from that portion and look at all of the steps moving forward. People procrastinate. It happens. But when you set a goal for yourself, it's so important that you begin working towards it immediately. Write it down, document it, make the phone calls, call a couple of people, friends, family members, and tell them what you plan to do and when you plan to do it, because they will hold you accountable. But then there are times you get sidetracked when it comes to setting goals. Well, you have to make a decision. How important is this goal to your livelihood, your current situation, or your future? When you look at it in that context, that will determine how much energy you put towards it, but also how you prioritize it amongst all the other things that are happening. During COVID, this last year and a half to 2 years, our homes have become houses of worship, schools, yoga studios, libraries, restaurants, you name it. We've all been inundated with childcare issues, parent care issues, working from home. There are so many distractions that will keep us from focusing on that lifelong goal that we have. But now that things are starting to get a little more clearer, we want to make sure that you focus on setting your goals and moving towards it. That's really what goal setting is. Setting the mark and moving towards it. All I'm saying is find your mark and work your way back, and then begin. And by the way, I was fortunate to give a speech at FDIC last year, actually this year, I'm sorry. It was, you can get there from here. And one of the points I wanted to strive was, when people don't support you, when people don't see things the way you see them, when folks are naysayers or tell you how it won't work, you can't get upset. You can't get distracted, because it's not their goal. It's not their dream. It's yours. So later, for naysayers, that's another distraction that can keep you from getting to where you need to be. APG Abdul Kalam says, to succeed in your mission, you must have single-minded devotion toward your goal. I want you to take 3 seconds. I don't care where you are. I want you to tell me, what is your goal? You can type it in the chat. What is your number one goal? Say it for yourself. Say it out loud, and I want you to type it. The most creative and powerful way to accomplish your goals is visualizing it. Visualize the outcome that you desire, not the obstacles. Visualize the positive outcome. I read a book a while ago. It was by Tiger Woods. This is before he had the driving incident that he had, but he was a highly successful golfer. And he wrote the book, and he said the most important, because they were asking him, how do you sink these 30, 40, 50-foot putts? You know, how do you sink them? How do you know which way the ball is going to go? And he said, the first thing I do is I look at the flag when I'm walking up, and before they pull it, I see the ball going into the hole. I visualize it. And when they pull the flag, I no longer look at the hole. I have that picture in my mind. I have my caddy who will look at all of the topography and see which way he believes the ball will go. He judges the wind and he gives me that input, but I still have the picture of that hole, of the ball going in the hole at the end. And before I let loose and hit the ball, I stand and address the ball. And the last thing I want to feel is I will waggle the club to feel the head weight. That's all I need to know. And once I add that with the information that I have, the picture is in my head is down, and I putt and I watch the ball go to the hole. Visualization. Visualization. Lamont says he wants to be an inspiration to others. Patrick wants to promote to the next level. Michael wants to launch his own business. There are specific steps. When you said those things, there are specific steps that you need to take to get there. Now that you know what the end looks like, start backing up. And I can tell you, in each one of those, you need to align yourself with people who are already doing it. Because part of procrastination are naysayers, and sometimes the people that we surround ourselves with. If we want to be above average, and this is nothing against anyone, if you want to be above average or move to the next level, then you're going to have to start hanging out with those folks that are at the next level, that are above average. Because if I only surround myself with the people that I know and only say the things that I know, I haven't advanced my cause one iota. That's where you need to be. Now, the other thing that we need to say is stop saying, I wish, I think, I feel. Change the language that you use in talking to yourself. I will, you say. I have, you say. I must. I'm determined to. You see, thinking and feeling are okay for a while. But sometimes when you're setting goals, it doesn't matter how you feel. If you focus on the end in mind, feelings don't really come into play. Because if I feel tired, I'm not going to move off the X. If I feel I can't do it, I'm not going to be motivated to take the next step, or take the step when it's difficult. Take the step when it's just me thinking I can move there. You have to change how you talk to yourself. Then break down the bigger goals into sub goals, smaller objectives, smaller tasks that get you to that place where you want to be. Remember, the brain is going to release dopamine every time you have a success. It doesn't matter how big or how small. That is why when you go to the slot machines and you pull and put your money in, and it drops a little bit of money in there, you're thinking jackpot, but you haven't gotten there yet. But what does the brain tell you? Ding, 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 ding. We just got paid. Do it again and keep doing it until we get to the what? End goal. If you can do that with a slot machine or any other game of chance, where you can see the end goal, or if I win this money, I'm going to X, you visualize that. If you can do that in a game of chance, why can you not do that in the game of life? Why can't you put yourself first? Why can't you bet on you? Why can't you put your money and your resources on you? All right, I'll stay off that one because I don't get in trouble. Okay, so here's what I need you to do. Think about this. Begin. Whatever your desired goal or end game will be, begin. Many people set goals with the right intention, but they never start. It's the wrong time. It's the wrong place. I don't have the resources. Something else came up. I worked and helped someone else do something. It's the wrong time for me right now. When you set your first goal and you're ready to begin, you're super motivated on goal setting day. You're invigorated with the possibilities of what can happen. You're eager to start the process, but you don't start. The first thing that comes into your mind is, it's not going to work. I'm going to do all this planning, but Joe Jones tried this and it didn't work out for him so good. Paula Smith tried this and it didn't work out for her as well, because you know what happened? Yeah, those were those people. Okay, they're not you. You know what you're capable of. And I would press you to say this. Sometimes you don't even know what you're capable of until you start. You have to begin. So the most important step in the entire process is to begin. Start. Yes, literally start the process. In fact, starting the process will increase your chances of success because you at least took one step towards the end. Make a decision. What's your goal? Declare it out loud. Many of you just typed it in the chat, so I know what you're thinking and where you're going. But sometimes when you're in the car by yourself, instead of yelling at the person who cut you off, yell out your dream to yourself. Yell out your goal to yourself. Think about it. We go to baseball and sporting events, football, soccer. We go to our kids' sporting events. We have our team. I love when people say, we're in the championship this year. You're not even on the field. You identify with that team. And when they do well, you scream. And when they do poorly, you scream and you sulk. And when someone does them wrong, you defend your team to the last breath that you have. You're willing to scream for strangers, but not for yourself. You're willing to cheer a team on that will not put any difference in your life, but you won't cheer yourself on. Yes, my friends, you have to be your own cheerleader. So get out a piece of paper as soon as you can, and I want you to write your goal down 5 times. And I want you to read that to yourself every day. I don't care if it's a Post-it note. I don't care. I want to go bass fishing and I want to catch a 45-pound fish. Well, nobody that I know is going out fishing right now. It was snow on the ground when I got up this morning. There was snow when I got back. They're not fishing now. But if I know that's what my goal is, and that's my end in mind, then I want to back up and get to that point. In other words, I want to visualize it, and I want to begin with the first step. It might cause me to buy a book on fishing, watch a TV program on fishing, talk to other people who fish, find out where the big bass are. Those steps that I can take until I can move into another realm of thinking and doing the smaller steps that I can take. What type of line, bait? What do they like? Do they like sinkers? Do they like lures? What do they like? There are things that you can do right now to prepare yourself to set your goals and to achieve them. But you've got to start somewhere. You've got to put in the work. In fact, when you get off the phone tonight, it's not too late. I want you to get on the phone after you've written this down, and I want you to call 3 people in your life and say, you know what? I was listening to this idiot that said I should call you and tell you, I want to learn how to sail boats. Never done it before. I want to learn how to do it. If you know somebody, point me in the right direction, but can you check on me from time to time and see how far I've gotten, because I want to sail boats? And your friends and families will go, check out Dennis. He wants to sail boats. Hey, Dennis, how's that boat sailing thing working out for you? Sometimes, in fact, most times in my life, I've learned more and succeeded more, not bragging, from people who told me I couldn't do it. From people who didn't believe that I could do it. From people who said, you might want to think of something else, not this. I learned. I was determined. And I know by the very fact that you're on this call right now, all of you that are here, you're looking to do something more. You're looking to do something extraordinary in your life. And extraordinary, all it is extraordinary. Extraordinary. So whatever everybody else is doing, you do more. Even if it's just one step, it makes you extraordinary. Once you get off the phone, ask those people to check on you. And then I'll share the next step with you. Okay, here's the time. Did you write them down? Awkward pause. No, you didn't write them down. Okay, how many of you said it's to lose weight, make more money, buy a new car, start a new relationship, end an old relationship, pay off your debt, buy a new place, buy something for your family, get a promotion? I saw it. Start a new business. Here's what I want to tell you. Do not use a backup plan. Set your goal and your focus Do not use a backup plan. If I said I wanted to make an extra $20,000 next year, but if I don't, 15 will be good, then I'll settle for 15. I'd much rather strive for the 20. And if I don't get it, whatever I make has moved me towards that goal. And as I move towards that goal, I'll figure out the things that I did wrong, I did right, what works, what doesn't work, who I need to work with, do I need to make changes, but that will move me towards my goal. Don't have a backup plan. Focus. Utilize all your energy for what you want to achieve. Will Smith, the actor, says that, what did he say? He says, there's no reason to have a plan B because it distracts you from plan A. It bifurcates your mind. Stop it. Many people play their goal setting to the degree that it's like a game of chance, like I said, that if it works out, super. If it doesn't, I'll just keep trying, and whatever I get is fine. You have to study the results. You may have to make changes. And I'll tell you what, we get tunnel vision about some things. We need to start getting tunnel vision about our goals as well. Now, party like it's 1969. Okay, if you weren't born then, I'm just going to tell you, there were a lot of big parties in the 60s. Some of you know about it. In other words, celebrate small victories. Celebrate those things that you achieve towards your goals. As I said, why are we cheering on teams and strangers, but we don't cheer ourselves on when we accomplish things, no matter how insignificant we may think they are? If they're moving us towards our goal, celebrate them. Neglecting to celebrate your successes can cause you to slowly and subconsciously start to take a negative view of what you do. You start to say, where is the sense in this if I'm not getting anything accomplished? No, you didn't get the big thing accomplished, but you did move closer towards the goal. So the good news, though, is when you celebrate your accomplishments, no matter how big or how small, you boost your confidence, you stave off burnout, and it moves you towards continued success. So think about your goal that you just wrote down. Think about what your first milestone would be towards that goal. Not the total goal, but think about what that first milestone would look like. I'm a huge advocate on accountability and for accountability. We're all human beings. And if left to our own devices, we would typically quit if we didn't get to our goal in the time that we said that we would get there. All right. So if you're looking for someone to hold you accountable, it would be my personal honor if you emailed me and said, this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to do it. I'll put my email in the chat window, and what I'd like you to do is tell me what your goal is going to be. I will set reminders on my side to say, how's that working out for you? Because I found the phrase, how's that working out for you, tends to make us more results driven as opposed to process driven. Yes, the process is important because we can learn and grow and replicate it. That's important. But the end goal for all of us are results. So if I can send you a text real quick and say, hey, you want to be the greatest bass fisher person in the world, how's that working out for you? Hey, it's January 9th. How's that working out for you? You'll have to go back to your plan and say, hey, John, I did X, Y, and Z. I want you to post your top 3 goals and action steps. In fact, put it in the chat now. Let's hold each other accountable tonight. Put it in the chat now, what your goal is and what your next 3 steps are going to be. I think that's important. And before we part, I just wanted to share some goal setting resources with you. What I'll do is I'll make this a PDF. And I have everyone that registered, I have your emails. I will send out the link to you for this. And we'll probably put the video on where you can watch it again as well. Because one of the things that you need to come away from this with is you need to journal. You need to write things down. it's important. It's important to know where you are right now and where you need to be. John Maxwell, one of my mentors and trainers, said, you can focus on the past, but how much energy are you going to spend that way as opposed to focusing on being forward? Because even focusing on the past for a significant amount of time becomes a distraction. It becomes a drain. But if you document in your journal where you've been, where you are, where you want to be, and check it regularly, a journal documents your days, your weeks, your months, and you can measure progress. It becomes your milestones getting towards your goal. But I also want you to read. We've gotten away from reading. So folks, get Audible. Audible is a wonderful app. I love it when I'm driving back and forth, when I just want to dive into something. But we've gotten away from reading. We have to read more, because as you look at specifically, if you want to read an author or an expert or subject matter expert on the goal that you put in specifically, you get to understand how other people think. You get to learn, like me, what their failures were, what the missteps were, and how they were able to achieve it. And goals are a wonderful way of having a conversation with your loved ones and the people that are in your life. Many times we go through life doing, showing up, supporting others. And when we don't share what our goals are, many times when I talk to some of the folks, say, hey, did you talk to such and such about it? Your mom, your dad, your significant other, your brother, your sister, your best friend? No. Why? I was a little embarrassed. I want to get things right before I talk to them. Well, sometimes you can't wait until things get right. Sometimes you got to bounce some things off some folks. Do not let it drive the conversation, but you want to be able to share it, focus, and move forward. The very fact that you're on this call tells me that you've already taken the first step towards setting your goals. I'm here to help you to make sure that you focus on them and move forward. As I said, I'm going to put the resources in there. The first step is physical and mental strength. Listen and learning. Oh, metadata. Oh, yeah, Troy Frost. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Bits of information. Absolutely. And linking them. You're onto something there. As I look, it is 8:50 currently. I never want to keep you more than an hour. Some of the questions that I saw in the Q&A, please, any other questions that you have? Nicole's study. Absolutely. Become more organized by completing tasks. Absolutely. Compartmentalizing them, prioritizing them. Think about it. When we go to work, and even when you get in your car, let's talk about that. You get in your car, you have a destination in mind, where you're going to be, where you're going to go. If it's a road you've always traveled, you've built up that comfort zone. And that's why we think we feel more comfortable picking up our phones and those other devices, because we've driven this road before. We know where the bumps are. We know where the traffic lights are. We know where traffic's going to build up. We know when it's going to clear up. We know what turns we have to make, detours. And so what ends up happening, it's like when you rode a bike, when you first learned how to ride a bike. Once you do it, it becomes unconscious competence. In other words, you could drive the car with your knees if you wanted to. I hope you don't ever do that. I don't advise it. But you already know where your comfort level is because you've gone that way. Think about when you drive someplace you've never been before. What do? You've got both hands on the steering wheel. You're looking back and forth. You're looking down the road. You've got your GPS on to assist you. Why is life any different? When we want to move out of our comfort zone, move out of something that we are familiar with, go to a new level, a next level, or be able to do something extraordinary. Why do we take a comfortable approach to it? I read somewhere where a person said, if you walk into a restaurant or a supermarket and everyone orders or buys the same thing, buy or order something else. because that's the average response. If you want to be above average, if you want to be extraordinary, go the extra step, do something different, challenge yourself, set your goals. Goal setting 101 is about having a destination, working your way back, and beginning. That's really what it's all about. So I'm going to share one other link with you. I want to thank you. You could have been anywhere tonight. I know, greatly appreciate it. But tell me, how are you feeling right now? Inspired, overwhelmed, or why did I listen to this guy for the last 40 minutes? I already know this. Both feelings are valid. All those feelings are valid, by the way. Setting goals is deeply significant and will impact your life for years to come. I'm just telling you, it made a difference for me. And this is only the beginning. I want to thank you for attending the webinar. I'm always here to support and guide however I can. I'll post all of these sources for you. They're all links. They did the research to put this program together. And I want to thank you. Absolutely thank you. You could be someplace else. We try. Hey, Rich, spent some time with Rich up in Illinois Fire Chiefs last month. Thank you for getting here, my friend. Thank you. Any other questions before we close? As my pastor would say, all hearts and minds are clear. Thank you, Lamont. Absolutely. I've been fortunate. I've had some pretty wonderful mentors. One is online tonight, Dr. O'Neill, who saw something else, something I didn't see, and always encouraged to strive to do more. And I cannot thank him enough. Dr. Carl Holmes, Alan Brunancini, Lloyd Ayers out of Philadelphia. Oh man, John Stewart out of Hartford. I hate to start naming people because when you start naming people, you're going to miss someone. But just some incredible people who are amazing. I think they're amazing, and I hold them in high regard. Hey, Chief O'Neill. I have to call him Chief Doctor because I always knew him as Chief. I knew him as a captain first, so watch out. Thank you so much. You all be well. God bless. Enjoy the holidays. And the next webinar will be in January because I want to come back and talk about conquering your goals. Be well. Thank you so much.